It starts with something so simple, a shadow by the fence. At first you think it's just your imagination, a trick of the night, but then the figure doesn't move, doesn't blink, doesn't even breathe. He's just there, watching. Every evening, when the sun sets, you see him standing by the wooden fence, unmoving, staring right at your window. You tell yourself it's nothing, but deep down you know something is very wrong. You try to call out, you even think of walking closer, but your instincts scream at you to stop, because if you do, you may find out the truth about the man at the fence, and that truth is far more terrifying than anything you've ever imagined. Mika Anderson lived in a quiet suburb in Portland, Oregon. The kind of place where kids rode their bikes past sunset, and neighbors waved when they mowed their lawns. It wasn't the type of neighborhood where people worried about being watched. But all that changed one evening in late October. She was 17, just back from her friend's house, when she saw him. At first, Mika thought it was a tree shadow cast across the fence in the backyard, but then the shape straightened, sharper, taller, more defined. Someone was standing there on the other side of the fence facing her room. She froze by the window. The figure didn't move. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear her own thoughts. She told herself it must be a neighbor, someone cutting through the alley. But as the minutes passed, he didn't move away. He just stood there, watching. The next morning, the yard was empty. Mika convinced herself she was tired, maybe imagining things. He didn't tell her parents, they'd just say she was stressed about school. But that night, as she turned off the lights to sleep, she glanced at the window again. He was there, the same figure, same spot. This time, she could see the faint outline of a man's shoulders, his head slightly tilted, as if studying her. She pulled the curtains shut and hid under her blanket, heart racing. By the third night, Mika was desperate for answers. She asked her neighbor, an older man named Carl, if he'd seen anyone strange hanging around. Carl shook his head. Ain't no one out here but us. Fences keep it safe. Safe. The word felt wrong. That night she dared to flick her bedroom light on and off, trying to see if the man would react. He didn't. He just stood there, frozen, like he was waiting for something. On the fourth night, Mika grabbed her phone and decided to record. She zoomed in through the blinds, shaking as she held the camera. For a second, she thought maybe it wouldn't capture anything, maybe her mind was inventing him. But then, through the grainy footage, she saw it. The man's pale face, staring straight at her camera. She screamed, and her parents rushed in. But when they looked out the window, the yard was empty. No man, no footprints in the soft ground by the fence. Her parents didn't believe her. They told her to put the phone down, stop watching scary shows before bed. But Mika knew what she saw. That weekend she stayed at her friend Rika's house to escape, but even there she couldn't sleep. At exactly midnight her phone buzzed. A new video. It was the one she had recorded but longer. Someone had kept filming after she dropped her phone. The video showed her bedroom door opening slowly, and the faint sound of breathing. Mika dropped the phone and cried out. Rika tried to calm her down, but when she grabbed the phone again, the video was gone. Monday night, Mika's parents insisted she sleep at home. She begged to leave the lights on, but her father said no, it was time she faced her fears. The house went dark. The clock ticked past midnight. The sound came first, a faint scratching, like fingernails dragging across wood. She sat up, clutching her blanket, listening. Then, the creak of the back gate. She tiptoed to the window, pulled back the curtain. He was inside the yard. The man who had been watching from the fence now stood only feet from her window. She saw his eyes, this time completely black, like holes punched through his face. He raised his hand, slowly dragging his finger along the glass of her window. Mika screamed, her parents bursting into the room. Her father rushed outside with a bat, swinging wildly, yelling at the intruder. But when the police arrived minutes later, they found nothing. No footprints, no signs of forced entry, no fingerprints on the glass. That night, Mika's mother made her sleep in their room. But even there, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The next morning, when her parents opened the blinds, they both froze. Carved into the wooden fence, deep and jagged, were the words, "I see you."